Hey, Tyler.
Hey, Pierre.
What's going on? Welcome to the New Score podcast. My name is Pat. This is my co-host, TYG, Tyler Pratt. Tyler, how we doing?
Good, good. Good day of college football. Hit on a
Yeah,
couple bets, which was nice. Michigan got it done for Harbaugh in his absence, so we're
Coach cried.
ready to roll. Yeah, that was great. That was good stuff.
I want to start this episode off by saying Happy Veterans Day to
Yes.
anyone watching that has served. Appreciate you. Thank you for your service. And I want to start the show off with that. If you are on YouTube right now, don't forget to like and subscribe. Follow us on Apple Podcasts. Follow us on Spotify. Get at us on IG and Facebook. And don't forget to listen to our Week 10 NFL preview and big juicy bets from last night. Posted it last night. So if you haven't yet, make sure you check out that Week 10 preview. It's on YouTube on our channel, and it'll be there right before this one. So appreciate y'all for listening. This is a very special episode we got right here. This is a Questions with a Fan segment. It was something that we were supposed to mix in last night's episode. Unfortunately, we had some technical difficulties with that. And then our boy, Justin Pachano, was supposed to be talking some Bills with us today, but he's not feeling well. His throat is very sore. So, Justin, we hope you feel better, buddy. And we will be
Praying for
sure
you.
to, we'll be sure to have you on. So, don't worry about that. We got you. We do have a very, very dedicated Buffalo Bills fan, though, that will be coming on in his place. And that's my cousin Sean. Obviously, I've known him my whole life. And this dude lives, breathes, dies with the Buffalo Bills. And he's also one of those fans that's a very rational fan. So that's something I've always appreciated about him is I know I can have like an intelligent conversation with Sean. I know it's not clouded by his love for the Bills or whatever that may be. We also have a Cincinnati Bengals diehard fan joining us, Justin Forbes, going to be hopping on, by far the biggest Cincinnati Bengals fan that I know in my life. Known him for over 15 years. Tyler and I both graduated with his brother. What up, Zach? Hope you're doing good, buddy.
Shout out to Zach.
Yeah, used to go over there all the time as a kid. So I've known Justin for years, and I know all about his passion as a Cincinnati Bengals fan. So we are excited for this Questions with a Fan segment coming up next. Joining us now is our diehard Cincinnati Bengals insider, Justin. What's going on, Justin?
What's up, guys?
There he
Hey,
is.
appreciate you coming on. Shout out to your wife. I know she's letting you use the iPhone right now because we were having some troubles with your Android. So,
Yeah.
Carrie, thank you very much for letting this happen. This doesn't happen without you, so we appreciate you. But let's get it going and talk some Bengals. Justin, I want to know because we all grew up, you know, Central New York together. None of us are fans of, the Bills, Giants, or Jets. Tyler's a Cowboys fan. I'm a Rams fan. You're a Bengals fan. So I want to know, we all have our reasons. I want to know what made you a Cincinnati Bengals fan? What attracted you them? And how old were you when you became a fan?
Yeah, so it might sound a little corny, but the uniforms, I think, were the main thing. When I was younger, I thought the stripes, the orange and black and the stripes were
Orange
sick.
and black. So good.
Plus,
Yes.
I don't like really following teams that everyone else likes. I mean, not even just in sports, but in life in general, I try to kind of be different. So, I mean,
Yeah.
I didn't know any other Bengals fans either. So, combination of those two things.
That's awesome.
But
I love that answer.
yep.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I used to always play them on Madden, even though they sucked and were like a a 60 or 70 rating, I always like playing with them just because the way they look.
Yeah, and that's another thing
Yeah.
because I mean, growing up in that environment, and I mean, those New York fans could be ruthless too. Growing up, I know you had to hear a lot of shit, when you were younger as a Bengals fan, especially because there's nobody else that was where we're from.
Yep.
I know I heard some of that too as a Rams fan growing up with how bad that we were at points. So I know it's been a lot of downs and a lot of ups and downs, but right now it's mostly up, and we're gonna get to that. But which stage in your life would you consider to be like the peak of your Bengals fandom, where you really felt like proud, like I feel good about being a Cincinnati Bengals fan. You know what I mean? Like I want to wear my shit out in public because it makes me feel good. For people to know that, hey, that's my squad. When it was that time for you? Is it maybe right now, like this new Joe Burrow era, or was it one of those eras growing up for you?
Yeah, so I'd say there's been probably three eras where I kind of wanted to show it, you know, wear my stuff loud and proud. Um, but there was a lot of times in between those three where it was pretty rough. But to start with, definitely the Chad Johnson and Carson Palmer days. And I
Yes.
thought we were going to win the Super Bowl that year if Palmer's knee didn't get torn up against the Steelers. I thought that was their year. No one was going to beat them. And I thought Kitna came in and almost rallied to still get through that game, but I thought for sure that was
Okay, man.
going to be the first Super Bowl. And then it was kind of down
Well,
for a little while. And then when Dalton and Green came in together, we had a few years there where, we'd make the playoffs, crazy stats, and then get beat by the Jets or the Texans first round every year. I think they lost to the
Right.
Jets two
Yeah.
straight years in a row, wild card. But yeah, so first the
Marvin Lewis
Ocho,
days.
yeah, yeah. Ocho and Palmer, and then the Dalton and Green. But by far, the Burrow era is the best so far for sure. Um,
I'm,
I mean,
I'm
he's
sure it's
like Tom
like a good
Brady.
comforting feeling with him. Yeah, exactly. He gives you like that comfort as a fan, like he's so professionally, like he just looks the part.
Yep,
And
in the
he's a
pocket.
great leader. Great
Yeah,
leader.
I think he's Brady in the
Um,
pocket, and
yeah,
his athleticism's
you're right.
underrated too.
Like
I mean,
that was his comparison, like coming in is just because how calm, cool, and collected he was. Like
yep,
that silent swag, like that silent swagger. That's Joe Burrow. That's Tom Brady.
yep,
But that orange and black, like you said, that was with the stripes, and like they've always had that swag, I feel, to them. And it's just like they're playing in a jungle, like that environment, like welcome to the jungle. That place, it's an electric environment. Like primetime games in Cincinnati are electric. I remember you having that Chad Johnson fathead um,
yeah,
at the house growing up.
yep,
I remember that, and then your brother had the LT one.
yep,
So I know you've always had love for Chad Johnson or Ocho Cinco, and I felt like there were so many times where you thought you had it, and yeah, like you said, like the Carson Palmer injury would come, and it's just like that. Your heart's ripped out. It just
yep.
feels like it's like a constant. Um, but I mean, you can't go wrong with, like you said, how you feel with Joe Burrow right now. It's a lot more comforting having him there than Andy Dalton, I would think. Tyler, you want to
Oh
add
yeah,
anything?
no, that was my favorite Bengals era. Was Carson Palmer, Chad Johnson, um,
Hushmanzada.
yep,
Bushman Zada, T. Yep, that was a favorite. That was the best time to watch them. And now that obviously there was a period where they weren't so good. Every team goes through that, but now they got Joe, and it feels like they're just going to be in the mix every year for the next 10.
yep, yeah. And then we had Chris Henry, To in there for a little
Oh,
while
yep,
too. So
yep.
there was a lot of good players
Pac
throughout the
Man.
year. Yep, Pac Man. Yeah,
Shout out Pac Man.
Yes.
yeah.
He had
He's
a good
doing his
run.
thing
He had a
still
good run.
now.
Yeah.
Him and
Yeah.
He's
McAfee
selling
and
weed now.
yeah, selling weed.
Rapping. He's rapping.
Yeah, I saw that.
He's just living life.
Yep.
Yeah. Love Pac Man. Um, Moving on though, let's go back, Justin, to that. And I hate to bring it up because I know it may feel rough coming from me, but going back to that Super Bowl run that you guys made, I mean, unbelievable that season, what it came down to for that, with that team being in the Super Bowl against the Rams, and you guys were putting some heat on us. And, in that like first 3 quarters of that game, I was pretty damn worried playing you.
Yeah, I thought we had one.
I'll never forget that. Yeah, that's the thing going into it. I felt really good about that game. I mean, you're never going to feel confident, like overconfident going into a playoff game, but I felt good. Like I was like, okay, at least we don't have to play Mahomes. You know what I mean? That's how I
Yeah.
felt. And then I saw the Bengals and I was like, holy shit, this team is legit. So I want to go back to that specific team from a couple years ago. Can you just put us into your shoes and tell us like what that run was like for you? Like the feelings and emotions that went into that.
Yeah, it's great. I mean, after 4 or 5 weeks, you basically feel like the season's over, and then they just started. What was it, 7 or 8 in a row? I think it was.
Oh, they got hot.
Yeah, and I mean, I almost couldn't believe it. And then the O line had problems all year. Burrow got sacked. It seemed like anywhere from 6 to 10 times every week, but still, Jamar Chase would have like 150 to 200 yard game, or always someone would always make a play, at the end or in clutch time when they needed
He's a
it.
beast.
Just just week after week, and then the playoff run. I think it was the Raiders, and then the Titans. Titans sacked them like 6 times in that
So
game,
much.
or maybe
Yeah, I think it
even
was
more,
7.
and they still
Yeah, it was
somehow
so
pulled that
many.
off. But yeah, just crazy. And then when
Yeah,
they,
in that
I
game in
thought,
Arrowhead.
yeah, yep, yeah, Chase. That was all Jamar Chase. It seemed like to pull that one off. But the Super Bowl itself, I felt really good midway through that. I almost thought they were going to blow them out in the second half. But then Hall of Fame, first ballot of Hall of Famer Aaron Donald kind of took over in the second half, and Cooper Cup. Cooper Cup had a great second
Also
half
a
too.
beast.
Oh, Cup was
Also a
huge. Yeah.
beast.
Yeah, I went
Mm-hmm.
from I didn't think you guys had a chance, and then the second half between Cup and Donald, it just kind of the momentum just slowly changed. But
That
yeah,
was. I want to talk a little bit about that Arrowhead game first. That was classic um, conference championship. That was
yeah,
insane, and to see them pull that off with that game-winning field goal, it just felt like as a neutral fan, I was waiting. I was like, oh no, he's gonna miss the field goal. I
yeah,
was like
Money Mac.
waiting for that bad thing to happen. But yeah, he was a rookie that year too,
Yeah,
and like put in
yeah,
that situation, and he nailed it. And the Bengals are going to the Super Bowl, and then you see them all celebrating on the field in Arrowhead, and it's like, holy shit, they just did that. They came back in that game. Kansas City got cute before a half and went for it. I think it was on the 2 yard line
yep,
and didn't get it. And like that was such a momentum swing for the Bengals going into the locker room that game. I remember that. And then after that, it was just flip a switch, all Cincinnati Bengals in that second half. Talking about the Super Bowl though, I think if Odell doesn't get hurt, I think that I wouldn't have been as worried as I was because he was eaten early in that
yeah,
game.
yeah. He was for
I think he
sure.
had 52 yards like right away with a touchdown, and then blows his knee out, and then right after that happened, you could just sense like it just hit our sideline so hard, and we're trying to get guys like Ben Skoranek in the game involved, and I was getting worried, and it became, like you said, it became the Cooper Cup show. But I was not comfortable, at all. And like you said, Aaron Donald came up huge in that game. But that Bengals team, that was tough. I just want to like, and a lot of those guys are still there too. Like they got the same chemistry, the same like persona in that locker room. And then you got Burrow
Yep.
leading them, and they've been there before. So I know you just got to be pumped about this team right now, like this new era.
Yeah, it's like every year's the same since Burrow's in there. Year one, obviously the wicked knee injury when Chase Young came in there and hit him. But then every offseason, there was COVID, then he had the appendix last year, and now this year the calf. So every year it's a slow start, and they start off what 0-3 the last 2 years or 1-3, and
Yeah,
every year
and
I
everybody's
kind of
shitting
count
on
them
him.
out. I still count them out just because the AFC is so loaded, but then Burrow does the same thing every year. So it's been the
That
normal. I
was Yeah, that was literally my next question, Justin. That's what's funny is my next question was, have you accepted the fact that they're just a slow starting team, and are you ever nervous at all? And you said you were nervous because of how tough that AFC is, and I mean, I don't blame you for that. But that was literally my next question was, is this just a trend that doesn't concern you? And were you worried at all? But I mean, you knocked it out of the park with that before I even answered it. So I want to move on to, who were some players that you've been really impressed with this year that you think aren't getting enough like recognition, I guess, from national media, or all these NFL talk shows, guys that aren't being talked about enough. Maybe like young players that you are very pleased with right now. In my opinion, I don't know if you've caught any of our past episodes, but when I'm talking about that Bengals defense, I'm talking about the pass rush that's always there. That's always like that consistent thing for
My boy
Cincinnati.
Trey.
Lou Anarumo is a great DC in my opinion. But guys that I've been talking about a lot are Cam Taylor Britt. I think
Oof.
he is
Yeah.
one
He
of
might be
the
the
best
next
corners in
shutdown
the
corner.
league, and nobody knows about him. But every time I watch the Bengals, I'm seeing that dude make a huge play in the game. And
Yep.
then
Yeah, he's
Dax
got a
Hill,
pick in like
young
four straight.
safety. Yeah, he's all
Yeah.
over the field every time. Every time that there's the big play to be made, Cam Taylor Britt's making a play, and then Dax Hill was my other guy that I've been
Yep.
impressed with. But who are some of those guys for you?
Yeah. So CTB probably would have been my main one, but you already brought him up. So we got a rookie second round Jordan Battle, safety from Alabama. So Nick Scott well. We brought him in
Oh
free
yeah,
agency, and he struggled to start off the first few weeks. Like I think we were ready to just write him off and say it's not going to work out, but he's kind of righted the ship and been playing better since. But that rookie Jordan Battle, he's been kind of splitting snaps with him because of the way he was playing, and he plays just as good, if not better, I'd say, than Scott has been. So he comes in, plays about a quarter to half the snaps and just makes plays. Um, we got a rookie wide receiver, fifth round out of Princeton. His name's real hard to pronounce, Andre Yoshi something, but he
oh
scored two
yeah,
touchdowns for us
I've
this
seen who you're
year.
talking about. Yeah,
But I mean, a fifth
yeah,
round
I would not be able to
receiver.
pronounce that.
Yeah, I mean, you got Chase Higgins and TB, so you wouldn't think a rookie receiver would even really get any playing time, but he scored twice for us and kind of in a couple crucial moments. So he's another one I would say. And
So you got
they
go
brought
ahead.
in Orlando Brown, and we switched our left tackle. Over, he's playing right tackle now, Jonah Williams. And at
Yep.
first, when he was told he was going to get switched, it sounded like he wanted out, but he accepted it, and he's only allowed one sack off the right side this whole season so far. So that deserves a
That's
mention
huge.
too, I guess.
So you got Jordan Battle and you got Dax Hill as a safety tandem for the next 5 years. That's special. And then you got
Yeah, and
Nick
then
Scott,
Britt.
who you say, yeah, at Brit at corner. Nick Scott, yeah, he's getting up there in age, but I still think that's a great guy to have on your defense for
Yeah,
leadership. And he played a critical role on that Super Bowl team for us. He played a critical role in that team.
he
So
picked Brady, didn't he,
experience helps those. Yes.
in a playoff
Yeah,
game?
against Tampa.
Yeah,
Yep. And Tampa Bay he did. He's a big time player. He's played big in big time games. So that's great to have with two young safeties who've got a lot of potential, and we've seen that. And T. Higgins, what do you, Tyler? Sorry, I don't mean to disclude you. What do we got? Anything?
No, I yeah, no, you guys are hitting them. Um, hitting the nail on the head. Is that or the head right? Am I on the
Yes.
right track here?
Yes.
Long day for me. Yeah, no, my boy Dax Hill still bleeds that gold and blue.
Yeah,
And then can't
receiving.
forget to name my cousin Jermaine Pratt. That's my boy.
Oh, how could I forget about Pratt?
Yeah.
You see the pick or the fumble he caused last week on Kincaid?
Oh my God. Yeah.
Basically
Hmm.
cartwheeling through the air and poked it out. Like
Yep,
he
that was
comes up
sick.
with a play every. I mean, there's 4 or 5 guys every week. They just you think they're gonna let a drive go down for a touchdown. It'll just someone just randomly knocks the ball out or gets a crazy pick. It's a
Yeah.
bend and break defense. I mean, they'll let you go drive 75 yards and then they get to the 15 and someone decides to step up and turn them over or hold them to 3. I mean,
Hmm.
that's why they're
Hmm.
winning.
Yep.
Situational football, they're very good at it.
Yeah. I mean, and Logan
You win.
Wilson in the middle, if you're going to bring up
Yes.
Pratt, Logan's probably, he might be
Yes.
arguably a top 3 linebacker in the league, too. So,
He's awesome.
yeah.
And then two other guys I want to mention. You had, like you said, your boy Hendrickson, and then like that
Hubbard,
pass rush is phenomenal. Yeah, Hubbard. I was
he's
gonna
out
ask you
this
about
weekend.
him. Yeah, I see that. I wasn't aware that what's it, an ankle?
I'm not sure if it
I
was a
don't
knee
I
or
don't
an
know.
ankle,
Yeah,
but yeah.
it's that stinks for them not having that against Houston. We'll get to that game in a little bit, but you're riding a 4-game win streak right now. Or I'm sorry, before I get to that, T Higgins. Do
Oh,
you
yeah.
anticipate he's going to be a free agent at the end of this year?
I mean, he finally had a breakout game last week. Up until that, he's been the first couple weeks he was dropping a lot of balls, and then he was injured. I kind of thought he was kind of on his way out, but then he blew up this past week. The old T was
Right.
back. I don't know that the team loves him. Everyone in the locker room loves him. I'd like to see if they could keep him, but I don't know. It's going to come down to a business decision. I mean,
Always
he can be a
does.
number one almost anywhere.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, 3 years ago he was 900 yards, and then he had back-to-back 1,000 yard
Yeah.
seasons. And then this is kind of like a down one to start, but he's still like he's a really good receiver.
I thought they might trade him just because he was having a rough start, and I think they could have got a first round for him. But
Yeah, they could have got some good assets for him for sure.
yeah,
But then it's like then you got to rely on TB. I don't know. Higgins is going to be big for them in the playoff push.
yeah, I think so
And if the
too.
Bengals don't give him money, someone will.
He just makes those contested catches.
Hmm.
Right.
So
Yeah,
yeah, I
it's
hope
great
they
to
can
have
keep
that
him.
opposite chase.
Yeah,
Yeah. So you're riding a 4-game win streak right now in the best division in football, by the way. That I love that division. That's whew,
it's crazy.
competitive. So going down the stretch, do you feel like it's very important that this team wins that division or perhaps, maybe get a top 2 seed? Or those things that are on your mind that you're concerned with in that, you know, it's tough in that AFC. Making a playoff run in the AFC is not going to be easy. Or do you feel comfortable with if we get in the playoffs, I feel good about my squad regardless?
Yeah, I think Burrow's proven it doesn't matter home field or not. He just locks in and makes it happen. But I know it sounds kind of weird, but Cleveland is the team I fear the most because year after year they seem to have the Bengals number, even more than
Hmm.
the Steelers or the Ravens. I mean, Lamar is scary right now in Baltimore, but Cleveland, they can have their backup quarterback year after year, and somehow they at least split with us or beat us both games. So
Right.
they're always scary. But I don't know. I don't really know how I feel about the Steelers right now. They don't really scare me a whole lot. I mean, their defense is
Their
playing really good.
offense.
Yeah, the offense though. I mean, I think if you can get in the mid 20s and make a few plays on defense, you can beat them. I just Pickett
Yeah,
don't
so
really
you
scare me.
no, I don't. He wouldn't scare me either. He's and I mean Deshaun Watson right now. Who knows with him? I mean, does he
Yep.
really scare you at what he looks like right now? But
But I've seen what
regardless,
he's
between those two
capable of.
guys, yeah, yes, we have. But it's like regardless of those two guys, you still got Lamar Jackson to worry about. And I talked about a couple episodes ago when we had our Q&A segment and somebody asked who's the scariest team in the league right now, and in my opinion it is the Ravens. Um, and then if I had to have a second team, I was like, well, if I had to have a second team, it's a team that's in their division, and that's the Bengals. So the
Yep.
fact that those two teams are gonna, I mean, they're playing on Thursday night next week, so what a game that's gonna be. But
Finally.
how do you feel? Yeah, how do you feel about this week's game? What are you expecting out of it?
Well, what you just said is what scares me the most. I mean, this is a your typical NFL trap game. You're on a 4 game win streak. You start feeling yourself, and now you got Houston Texans coming into Cincy, but next Thursday you got the Ravens. So it's like I think Zach Taylor is good at keeping them, their eyes on from week to week and not looking ahead. But how can you not when you're on this run and you got a chance to have the same record as them, and that would split. And I mean, we'd still have a worse division record, but we'd probably jump up to second in our division. So I mean, I just hopefully they're not looking ahead and they're focused. But this week, T. Higgins is already ruled out. Sam Hubbard's out. And Jamar Chase, I think, is going to go, but he's questionable. So I'm really nervous about them looking ahead and then the injuries combined.
That's a great point that I didn't even think about. Tyler, we just had our episode last night. We were going over our leans on betting with this game. That was something we didn't even think about either, was that element of maybe a trap game. So that's a great point by you. Um, so is this franchise in Super Bowl or bust mode right now, do you think?
I think anytime you go back to back AFC conference championships and a Super Bowl, that's what's expected there, there and after. So yeah, I mean, when you get all the way to that game against the Rams, if you get to a Super Bowl and you don't win it, I mean, it could be decades before you ever see another one. That's kind of the way I see it. Like, I thought we had that game, and when they ended up losing that towards the end, that was the worst feeling ever. I mean, I was happy for you. I think we were texting actually, like leading up to
Yeah.
that game and stuff. But
A
yeah,
lot of nerves that day.
I mean, there's not many teams like the Patriots or the Chiefs right now that pretty much can get there on a 5 year stretch and always have a chance. So I mean, back to back AFC Conference Championship games and then the one Super Bowl. Yeah, I mean it's go time now or bust. I mean, look at Buffalo. They
Yeah.
were the favorites to start last year, and they what have they done? Pretty much
Yeah.
nothing when it really comes down to it. So none of it
Yeah, we're
matters
about
if
to
you
get to
can't win the
them.
big game.
You're right. We're actually about to get to the Bills next. Tyler, anything you want to add about what do you think of about the Bengals? In that division going forward this year, and Justin's take on, hey, it's Super Bowl or bust for them right now.
Yeah, every team kind of goes through a window, and I feel like when you have really good pieces all over the place, the tough part is containing or excuse me retaining them because you have to pay them all, and especially when you have a superstar quarterback like Joe Burrow, they've always got to pay him. Um, but that's the thing, when you have a quarterback like Joe Burrow, you're always in it year to year, and then this year I know the Browns kind of have the Bengals number, but long term, I don't think they can keep up with the Bengals and the Ravens just because of their kind of shoddy quarterback play,
Yeah.
as great as their defense has been. And then the Steelers, just same deal. They just can't figure it out on offense consistently enough, no matter how great their defense plays. But I think both those teams end up getting 9 wins, maybe 10, but I think the Bengals and Ravens get 11, 12.
I mean, right now, I think every team in the division would be in the playoffs if the season ended today. So that's what's crazy about it.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. Yeah.
Wow. But Justin, hey man, we appreciate you coming on, talking some Cincinnati Bengals with you. We look forward to maybe having you on again sometime later in the season. It was a blast talking some football with you, catching up with you. I know it's been a while since we've both seen you. So thanks again, Justin, and have a great night. Good luck this weekend and Thursday night.
Yeah,
Yeah, good
thanks
to
for
see you,
having
brother.
me, guys.
All
Yes,
right, man.
sir.
Have a good
Take
one.
care.
See ya.
See you.
Who day?
Who day? Who day?
That was sick. There's not, I mean, Bengals fans are rare, for us. I've
Hmm.
going through it, going through all the different stages in my life. I was trying to think earlier, like, is Justin the only Bengals fan that I've ever met? And I think that shout out Norm Churko. Shout out Norm Churko.
Mm,
He's a Bengals fan. Um,
interesting.
besides that, and I'm talking like diehard Bengals fans. I couldn't think of one. So I that was awesome having him on and getting his insight because
Yeah.
that's a team we don't hear too much about, and we definitely don't hear anything from their fans. But coming
Hmm.
up next, we're gonna get to our Buffalo Bills segment of questions with a fan. Joining us now is our Buffalo Bills fanatic on Questions with a Fan, part two tonight. My cousin Sean. Sean, how we doing?
Good,
Welcome, brother.
good. Hanging in there.
Bills Mafia, you seeming your vibes are seeming a little low right now. I want to dive into
Mafia.
that. We can treat this as a therapy session if need be with you. We just had a Bengals fan.
Yeah,
Yeah, we just had a Bengals
that
fan
ain't
on
nothing
before
new for me.
this. He was feeling pretty good, but I'm
Yeah,
excited to dive into this because I know I haven't even talked to you in a minute. And I started off this episode by
yep,
saying you're somebody who I've always felt was so passionate as a fan, and I love that because I'm the same way with my teams. And another thing that I've just respected about you
yep,
is you're always just you're a rational fan. Like you're not overly dramatic with what happens. I think, in my opinion, I think you're a
yeah,
more realistic fan
yeah.
than Yes,
Realistic
yeah,
for sure.
we'll
Irrational
we'll, we'll
though.
agree with realistic. Um, but I remember, as we were
Yeah,
kids at grandma's house, and you'd be rocking all the Bills shit, and it's like
yep,
nobody else was a Bills fan, so you were always, and the Bills were always bad back then. So you were always hearing shit, whether it be your dad or other people making jokes, making fun of you, making fun of little Sean. Um,
yep,
but that was something like growing up. I respect that
yep.
because you stuck with it like through those bad times. And I mean, I want to dive into that. What made
Absolutely.
you a Bills fan? Because I know your dad's a Giants fan, and then it's kind of sporadic. Your mom,
My mom. Yeah. No, mom was a mom was a Bills fan. I just remember being a little kid. God, I have a picture of me in a diaper and a Bills. I think it's a Bills crew neck sweater. I must have been 1.5 or 2 years old, and I just as long as I can remember, um, before I moved in with my grandma, being with my mom every Sunday. We'd be wherever we were at her friend's house or a bar or whatever, just watching the Bills play. And I don't know, just seeing the way she was about it, it just made, I don't know, I guess I just felt the same way about it. And now it has evolved far beyond that because she no longer
hmm
she cares,
Mm.
but she doesn't care the way I care. I'll let it ruin my whole week, which it's been doing for the past four. So, but yeah, I mean, it's like just one of those things. It's I can't control it, but I feel how I feel, and I definitely it ruins my week when they suck, which is
yeah,
it's been a lot of
I
lot of
want to,
weeks ruined.
I want to talk about
Yep,
when was it when you were a kid when you could say, because you talked about like how passionate you were as a kid liking the Bills. Would you say that was when you were at your
yep.
peak as a Bills fan, or was there another time along the way growing up where you felt really like happy to be a Bills fan?
Mm, I don't think I was at my peak. I mean, I've definitely always loved the Bills. I remember my first ever game was the Bills versus the Bears. It was Jim Miller was the Bears quarterback. I want to say, shit, I don't remember the year now. I want to say it might have been 2000. It was Doug Flutie and Rob Johnson, like rotating quarterbacks. And I mean, I loved the Bills then. That was definitely like up there, like for me. But then I think it was shortly after that. I want to say around the whenever like Alex Van Pelt became quarterback, I kind of stopped caring for a couple years, and then it just I don't even know what happened. It wasn't even an intentional thing. I just kind of it lost me a little bit. I think it was like after the Music City Miracle, which was even as a little kid was a pretty devastating game to watch. Um, I kind of like
Hmm.
put it down for a couple years, and then it for whatever reason it just came back to me, and I cared all over again. I want to say it was maybe J.P. Losman or Trent Edwards time, something like that. I definitely got back into it pretty big, but yeah, I don't think peak. Definitely not peak. I'm right now might be peak. Well, 2 3 years ago might have been peak as far as the maybe the unrealistic me thinking that they would be better than they were, but yeah, definitely it fluctuates. It's easier to care when they're good for sure, which has not
Yeah,
not
it's
been a
good to
lot in my
have it
life.
now. It's like last year they were Super Bowl favorites. So in the year before that, they were that close in that Chiefs game
Yeah,
to going like
yep, that was the year I think. I don't think even last year. Last year I didn't beginning of the year, the first half of the year, we played you guys, the Rams
spanked
opening
us.
day, and that was like the bar. Yeah, that was well at the time you guys were the Super Bowl champs, so we're like we beat the Super Bowl champs like that. We got we might be the Super Bowl favorites. And then we played what all the way up until Thanksgiving, and I think we lost Von Miller Thanksgiving, and the next they were kind of winning and losing some games up until Thanksgiving. I want to say from Thanksgiving on, they ran the table, and none of those games, not one single one of those games, were those wins like convincing to me. I was like, they're just scraping by. They're just winning games. They're not winning. They were doing what the Giants were doing last year, just winning games like
Hmm.
last second field goals or whatever by a couple points. Like they weren't convincing. So I don't think last year to me like wasn't the year. The year prior, the 13-second game, that was the year that we were most realistic to have a
I
shot at the Super
remember
Bowl, in my
texting
opinion.
you that playoff push, that playoff run, because it's like the Rams were looking really good, the Bills were looking
Hmm.
really good, and obviously we talked about both of us growing up,
Yeah. Yep.
and
I
both of our
remember.
teams sucked. When we were young, like I had the greatest show on turf, but I was very
Yep.
young when that was going on. That was like the very
Yeah.
beginning, and then
Yep.
in between that, it was a lot of down
Yep.
years, just like you. So I remember texting you, and I was like, "Bro, this is probably the best chance that we have." You know what I mean? Of meeting
What
in the Super
if?
Bowl, and
Yeah. Absolutely.
that game that in Kansas
Yep.
City, shit, like that was it right there. Like I feel like, oh my god, 13 seconds away, we would have. I feel like we would
I
have been
agree.
playing the Super Bowl, but
Yeah. I mean, not even talking shit. I feel like if we play you guys in that Super Bowl, we win that Super Bowl. Just the way the Bills' offense was that season and that Kansas City game. I mean, obviously you guys had a great defense. You had Aaron Donald. I think I think I think that Ramsey wasn't very good in that Super Bowl, but neither here nor there. You guys did it. You guys got it. But I mean, yeah, that was their chance, and I don't know if it came down to coaching or whatnot. I've heard a ton of he said she said things from that game now about how McDermott took over the play calling on that last drive, and that's partially why Leslie Frazier is now gone because that's the rumor is that McDermott took over play calling on that drive, and then the whole next year, which would have been last year, where I didn't have much faith, was McDermott's defensive play calling, and Leslie Frazier was just there. Um, and
Right.
obviously, you see how that unfolded. And yeah, I don't know. I mean, it was very, to me, I watch every single game, whether we're getting blown out or not, to try to take something positive away from the game, as painful as it is. But they didn't look like a Super Bowl team last year, in my opinion. So, but yeah, I remember you texting me that, and I was
It's
I was
it's
hoping
really
too.
funny how this all ties together, Tyler, because we literally just got done talking to a Bengals fan who we beat in the Super Bowl, and they would have been waiting in that AFC Championship game to play you
Yep.
guys. So it's just funny how that ties together. And obviously, that Bills Bengals are developing, a nice little rivalry. I think right now with the games that they played against each other.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
Tyler, anything you want to add about that game in Kansas City, or what you've thought about the Bills 2 years ago, or the year last year?
Yeah, no, that run 2 years ago, that game against Kansas City, like that was the year. That's when they were really clicking. The year before, year after, it didn't quite look like the same Bills team. And then early this year, the first 3 or 4
Hmm.
weeks, aside from that week one loss to the Jets, they looked really, really good. And then, here we go again, thinking, maybe Buffalo's got another shot this year. And then the injuries started to pile up, and now they are where they are, trying to get an identity on offense. So there's still a lot of time left in the year, though. Obviously, we know what we're going to get from
Hmm.
Mahomes, now Lamar Jackson, Joe Burrow, and the Bills are just trying to kind of
Yep.
get their way in there with, Tua and what the Dolphins are doing in that division. And then the Jets are kind of hanging around. So it's going to be an interesting finish for the AFC East this year.
I want to get I want to get into this year
Yeah. For sure.
in a little bit. I just want to bring it back to the past a little bit. Is there anything that you miss about the Bills? Maybe like a certain mentality from years ago that you can remember, or maybe just a Bills player that you love growing up? Who are some of your favorite Bills players you love growing up?
As far as a mentality, not really. I mean, we've had uh, such a carousel of coaches that none of them really brought anything distinguishing to the table. I mean, I liked guys at moments in time. Uh, maybe I guess. I mean, past his prime, Rex Ryan. I guess I liked. I hated him as the Jets coach, but I mean, anybody that's trying to steer the Bills in the right direction, like I like them at that moment in time. But as far as the as far as like the mentality, not really. They've just always. I just feel like they're pretty complacent. Players, God, I don't know. Definitely, I was a Doug Flutie guy when I was a little kid. I love Doug Flutie. Uh, it's hard to say. Just guys that are
I
like
remember you had a thing for
iconic.
Eric Moles too
Uh,
growing up.
Eric Moulds, love Eric Moulds. I actually got to meet him 2 weeks ago at a bar that's 5 minutes from
That's
my
dope.
house. Um, yeah, me and my son Anakin we got pictures with him, autographs with him. Actually, it was just I commented or I messaged him on Instagram thanking him because he just got inducted to the Bills, like the Bills Hall of Fame, not like the actual Hall of Fame, but I like sent him a message congratulating him, and
That's
Anakin drew him
awesome.
a picture and gave it to him when we met him, and he messaged me. He messaged me back and he was like, "Thank you, brother." Like, just such a humble dude, and the dude is built like a tank. Like, I put my arm around him, and he's rock solid still to this day because he's got a son that must play college or high school football, so he's like a trainer still. The dude could still play, like he really could. Um, Loved Eric Molds, definitely up there. I mean, Peerless Price, Eric Molds, definitely. God, Travis Henry, Willis McGahee, all those guys. I mean, there hasn't been a ton of great name Buffalo Bills. Uh, Paul Posluszny, I liked when he was in his prime. Uh, there's a bunch, but nobody that changed the franchise, obviously. So it's hard to put too much into that. Right now, it's obviously for me. Love Josh Allen. I mean, people can point fingers and say what they want to say, but as far as what I've had in my lifetime, I mean, there's no comparison. The dude is amazing. He's a great football player. I love that he embraces Buffalo and the whole
Mafia.
Bills Mafia. I mean, I just that yeah, I love him. I mean, I wish that things were different right
Yeah.
now. Uh, I came into this season kind of feeling the same way. It just didn't feel like a Super Bowl season as much as I wanted it to be that way. They came into the season with almost an identical offense and almost an identical defense. Like they didn't really do that much to address it. Like it's it just feels like whoever's in charge just doesn't really want it that bad. Like you guys sold everything to get a Super Bowl, and then I mean you're the franchise right now. I feel like is in a better direction than the Bills is. I mean, what you guys tanked last year
Well,
after
Stafford
the
got
Super
hurt.
Bowl,
Stafford
and
and
now
Cup
you're
got
already
hurt.
like
That was in the tank, but
seemingly right.
we didn't have our
But
pick, so
yeah, well, but still seemingly sure.
this year, yeah, I
But
agree though. I agree with
yeah, I
what you're
don't know,
saying
man. I
for
just
sure.
feel like it's like somebody I don't know
Who
somebody
was that?
doesn't they don't want it bad enough. I guess
Who
I
was
don't
that
know.
one
Even
safety
at the
during that
trade
Stevie
deadline,
Johnson era who was like
but
really good? Jarius Bird. Yes.
Jairus
Oh
Bird,
Yeah.
yes.
yeah, Jairus Bird was great, man. I mean, we had a couple of great safeties: Jairus
Yeah.
Bird, George Wilson. Uh, I want to say they probably played at the same time, but yeah, they were great.
Yep.
And then nothing.
I
I
want to
mean,
say
but yeah, Jairus Bird was awesome.
was it Whitner that played there? Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, I remember Whitner
Dante
playing there.
Whitner, yep, he was definitely.
But it's
Yep, yep.
yeah, I think
He went to
he
Cleveland.
played for a bunch of teams in the end there. But I'm gonna let you cook on
Yeah.
the Bills right now. But I do want to mention something cool, and it's because I mentioned before our
Hmm.
buddy Justin Pachano. We were supposed to have him on to talk some Bills as well, and our interview kind of got cut out. But I talked to him about the same thing, player that he
Yep.
loved growing up, and he said the same exact thing. His thing for Doug Flutie, like that's what drew him to the Bills. He loved Doug Flutie. You guys are
Yep.
probably right around the same age, so I mean, it was cool to hear that from the both of you. He said he actually cried. He went home and cried
Yep.
when they traded him to San Diego. So
I
yeah.
I definitely remember being bummed out because then it was Rob Johnson and he was just gonna get hurt. So, but yeah, I loved Flutie
I
too.
remember
Flutie was the
going
guy.
to my first NFL game was in Buffalo. I think it was Dolphins Bills. I think I had my Marino jersey on, but
Hmm.
anyways, it was where Doug Flutie was there. You know, he had done what he had done, but they drafted Rob Johnson, so there was that QB controversy. But to me,
Yep.
like even being a young kid at that age, I felt like this is wrong, like what they were doing. Like Flutie's the guy, and now they're creating like this
Hmm.
controversy after drafting this
Yep.
guy, and deservingly so. Like if Rob Johnson was that guy, but I like Rob Johnson didn't end up doing anything. You know what I mean? So it's like they just threw Doug Flutie to the side for that
No.
guy, and I
Right.
thought that was fucked up back then.
Yep. It was. I mean, Flutie. I feel like that God is now. It's like another lifetime ago. I don't. I mean, I know the first game I ever went to was the Bills Bears, and they won that game. And even that game, I want to say that Johnson like got hurt, and Flutie came in and won us the game. But like, you got a guy that's working, and I mean, obviously, you draft a guy whenever they drafted him. I don't even know. And you feel obligated to start that guy, but even then, like I feel like they had potential. I mean, just nothing. I don't know. Nothing worked out. Nothing. Nothing ever works
But
out when you're a Bills fan.
that's what makes that's something about Bills fans that I respect though is that like it just constantly feels like everything is going to go wrong for you. But that's something that bonds you
Yep.
together though.
Cursed.
That's what something that, that Bill's Mafia is built on,
100%.
and that's what makes like that passion. That's what everything that
Yep.
goes into it. That's something that I've always respected about Bills fans. But Tyler, anything you want to add?
No, no.
No. All right. So let's get on. Let's get on with today's Bills. In your opinion, what is wrong with the Bills right now? I'm going to start by just saying we've been talking about the Bills, every week with what they've got with the results of a game, what they got going into a game. We talked about them at the trade deadline, our episode. I thought the Douglas trade was really good because it looks like Elam is not that guy that you drafted. So I think getting Douglas, who's played in some
Hmm.
big time football games in his career, I think he's a guy who could play in the slot. He's a guy that could play on the outside. He's physical. He's a ball hawk. He's a good leader. And like I said, he's played in some big games in his career. So I thought it was great for Bean to accept the fact that, hey, this investment in this Elam kid, I don't think is it. And don't double down on that mistake. Let's try and do something here and make that cornerback room better. So I thought that was a great move by them. But what I didn't like,
Hmm.
Sean, was I didn't understand the Fournette trade at all, or excuse me, signing at all. And that's because I feel like James Cook is a really good back. Like he can be a really good back in this league. And I just feel like they haven't done their part as a team to feature him in the offense. I honestly think that James Cook could be in the same kind of role like you see with ETN in Jacksonville. That's my opinion of James Cook. I've been watching him since college. You drafted him in the second round. He's a guy that he's
Yep.
going to take the pressure off of Josh, right? So we're not one dimensional. We're not predictable.
Yep.
We feature our running back, and you don't just have to run him in between the tackles. We can dump it off to him. We could throw swing passes to him. We could set up screens, get some creativity, but get the
Yeah.
ball in his hands because he's a weapon. You spend a second round pick on him, and then you sign Latavius Murray to take touches away from him, and now you're signing Leonard Fournette to take more touches away from him. That's something that I don't agree with. Um, and I think that's their issue. They don't have an identity on offense right now. Yes, they're banged up with injuries on defense, but I feel like
Yeah.
it wouldn't be that big of an issue, the defensive issues, who's those guys are still playing their asses off on that defense. And some guys have stepped up, in my opinion. But the offense, I think, is something where we need to establish an
Hmm.
identity and stop being less predictable, get a run game going. Like, even if it doesn't work, you need to try to run the ball. You can't just sit back and shotgun all game because you're not giving the defense anything to prepare for.
Yep.
It's just one thing. So if you at least try to run the ball, you could set up
Right.
play action, and you're going to be like, it's going to make Josh's job so easier as a quarterback. Take away all of that, hero ball where he's just running all around and waiting for somebody to like. That's nice. That's nice that he has that ability. Don't get me wrong. That's what makes him like he's gifted,
Yeah.
right? But let's not make that our offense. Like we can't
Hmm.
rely on that. Like Mahomes makes those
Right.
special plays too, right? Like Mahomes will make those jaw-dropping plays, but he also has the
Yep.
ability to, the Chiefs offense can do anything. Like they're not always trying to make that big play, and they prove that they can do
Right.
that even without losing Tyreek Hill. So that's where I'm coming from with the Bills' issues
Yep.
right now is just that identity on offense. What do you have to say about that?
Yep. Um, what did you say first? So as far as like the defense, I liked the Douglas signing. I mean, we obviously lose Trey White. Uh, as far as because I read a lot into it. As far as what I'm reading anyway, Bean is because I guess they had offers for Elam at the trade deadline, and uh, according to what I read, Bean was just didn't want anything to do with the trade offers. Kind of seemed weird to me because I was in the same boat. I was like, trade him, get something for him. You guys are healthy scratching this guy, according to them at the time, healthy scratching this guy. Um, you traded, you you got him pretty high in the draft, uh, and he gets beat out in training camp by, I want
Mhm.
to say, Christian Benford, who was fourth or
I think he was
could have
6th.
been a fourth, fifth, or sixth rounder. So for that guy to, yeah, so for that guy to come in and beat out a first round pick in training, I mean, that's awesome. That's best case
Right.
scenario if they both work out, like if they're both good. But that hasn't been the case. Like, um, I guess so. I guess Bean, according to what I read, Bean is not ready to hang it up on Elam. He was comparing him. He was like, "Well, look at guys like Josh Norman. He didn't come out and he wasn't great right away. It took him a couple years, and then he had whatever." Like, that's just from what I read. So we'll see. I mean, apparently he's also not 100% healthy. They've been saying now that it's like an ankle injury that he has. But I mean, even when he has played, he hasn't really done anything great. So I hope it'd be awesome if he panned out and all that. But yeah, as far as the Rasul Douglas signing, like I was happy. I remember I was at work and somebody was like, "The Bills just traded for the Green Bay Packers top cornerback." I was like, "We got Jair Alexander." They were like, "No, no, no,
No,
Rasul Douglas." I'm like, "That's not their top cornerback." Like,
he's still a dog.
um, but so I didn't. I mean, I knew that. Yeah, it's still a dog. I mean, the guys. I knew a little bit about him. I mean, obviously, if you're taking either of those guys, I'll take Jair Alexander all day. But no, I was still happy with it for a third round pick, and we got him and a fifth back, so that was cool. I mean, we definitely needed to do that. The defense is decimated on. It's decimated, man. I mean, even this week. This week we're going in. Micah Hyde's out and Christian Benford's out. Like you're going into a Denver game where Denver's not as bad of a team as their record shows or people think they are. I mean, you got Sean Payton, you got Russell Wilson, you got Cortland Sutton, Javante Williams. I mean, they have a good team on paper, and right now they're not playing great football, but it would not surprise me at all if they came into Buffalo and smacked us. Not in the least, especially considering we're without the people that we were without prior to this announcement of these two starters also being out. So um, yeah, the defense has an excuse for why they're letting up, I guess, because guys are hurt. Also, Terrell, yeah, shit, I'm having a brain fart now. Terrell Bernard,
Right.
kid that stepped in for linebacker for Milano, like he went out with a concussion last week too. So I mean, they can't win, man. I mean, they're hurt constantly. Even the next man up, like the guys that are coming in have been stepping up, sure, but I mean, they can't do it all. We got half of Von Miller, like he's not 100%, and I mean, last week he's who knows, a tackle away from forcing a fourth down against Cincinnati, and maybe it could have been different, but that's the Bills, man. They don't. It's every week since we played in London. They, I want to say they came out in London. They came out way too cocky. They came out looking like we just beat the Dolphins like easily. We're gonna make light work of these guys. And they came out and they went three and out, three and out, three and out, and nothing changed. Nothing changed until the fourth quarter when their backs are against the wall and now they're driving down the field with ease and they get the ball back and they can potentially tie or win the game, whatever it was. And that's what they do. They get your hopes up just to let you down. And yeah, I don't know, man. It hurts, but God, we're what, 3 plays away from being three more losses. We could have lost to the Giants, pass interference on the 1 yard line. Should have been two pass
Mhm.
interferences. Should have been, Tampa Bay. We're what's Godwin? If Godwin turns around and tries to make a play on that ball, that's 2 games in a row where you're letting letting these teams that aren't very good come down the field and potentially beat you from stupid. I mean, just being too handsy on the defense. Granted, like that's where our defense is probably healthiest was anyway, was the defense, like those guys, the safeties. Like you got Jordan Poyer and Micah Hyde back there. Those are like used to be two all pro safeties.
I
Like
wanted to ask you
they
about
aren't
them
those guys
too.
anymore. I mean, great. Like they're I love those guys, man. They're awesome, but they're older, they're slower, man. Like as far as like being smart, they're there. They got that. I mean, if the ball's up in the air, like they'll go up and get it for sure. But if you watch a Bills game, man, like they're getting they're getting crushed. Like as far
Yes.
as like just getting outrun,
Hmm.
a couple of missed tackles and stuff. Like they're just not. They're it's like they're past that point. They're past their prime. Like I don't know, man. It's tough to see, but like if you watch the game, if you watch anybody getting past their cornerbacks and where the safeties are supposed to pick them up, the receivers are beating the safeties too, man. Like they're getting burned out there. Um, they'll still make plays though. I mean, if you put them in the right situation or you're calling the right defensive plays where maybe they're dropped back further or something, or the cornerback's not letting them get so far past them that the safeties have to get them. Like I don't know, man, but they're definitely they're not the guys anymore. Like they're not that elite duo safety duo anymore. So as far as the defense, I think the defense has excuses for um, why the things that are happening. As far as the offense, man, you got me because I'm ready to blow it up. Fire Ken Dorsey, fire McDermott, dude. Do what we got to do. Save some time before Josh Allen's gone, man, because Ken Dorsey is not it. I mean, he has moments where I'm like, okay, what are we? This is awesome. Like the Dolphins game, I'm like, okay, where's this? Where's this all the time? And but there's no identity. There's no we a couple of games there we had a run game going. I don't think I don't watch college football, so I don't know. I knew that Cook was the guy in Georgia, but he was, as far as I knew, he was more of like the pass catching back. Um, just as far as running him delayed draw plays up the middle, I'm like, this guy's not that guy. Um, he's not a great pass blocker. Like the better when you compare him and Latavius Murray being in there, Latavius Murray is by far the better pass blocker. Like as far as giving Allen time, um, I mean I've seen countless plays where Cook will just whiff the pass block or just gets run over. Like he's not big enough yet to where he's able to, I don't know, be that. I mean the Bills just don't know how to use running backs, man. It's been, I don't know
Shady.
when the last time we had a good running back is. Fred Jackson, maybe.
Yeah,
Shady,
he would have
but
been great
I mean, he was
anywhere.
already an established back. And even like we had, right, exactly. Uh, I mean, yeah, it's tough. I don't know. Personally, I was happy with the Leonard Fournette signing because I mean, I don't think we gave up a ton to get him, but to me, it's just okay. The Bills are putting in a little bit of effort to try and do something, but I until it works or it doesn't work, until they use him or they don't use him, it's like it doesn't matter what I think. I just want them to do something. It's like that meme where the guy's poking the Bills logo with a stick. It's like do something. Like that's me, man. Like do something because whatever you're doing ain't working. And I mean, as far as using Cook, I like him. I wish they would use him more in the pass game. I wish they would do, hit him with some sweeps or something like. But what they're doing with him, they just don't know how to use him. I think the play calling is shit. Uh, yeah, man, it's tough. I don't know. I would be lying if I said I wasn't a little bit excited to see what they're going to do with Fournette if they can make it work at all. But
It's just
we'll see.
like, and first off, I didn't know that James Cook had an issue with pass blocking. So maybe that is, a big reason why he's not on the field as much as I would like to see him out on the field. So that makes a lot of sense for that because that's a big
Sure.
role, especially when you're throwing the ball in shotgun as much as they are.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Going
Yep.
to that defense, I feel like Dane Jackson has stepped up though for that team, and also I think Taron Johnson
Yep.
is a very under. Yeah, I think he's a
I
very
love Taron
underrated
Johnson, man.
player, very underrated cornerback in the league. for what he can do in the nickel position. I feel like he's one of those guys
Yep.
who's just all over the field, making a play on the ball and making tackles in the run game. Like he's a tackle machine. That guy doesn't get talked about enough, doesn't get enough praise, in my
Yep.
opinion. But with those other injuries,
Yep.
and then it's funny, I literally was just telling Tyler about this. I don't remember when it was, but I was saying the same thing with Hyde and Poyer, and it's like no disrespect to those guys. Those guys have had great NFL
Mm-hmm.
careers. They've been doing it for a long time,
Yep.
right? But
Mm-hmm.
talking about right now, I'm seeing the same thing when I see the Bills is if a running back is getting through the hole, and it's safety having to take that angle of
Mm-hmm.
pursuit, they're not getting to that angle quick enough, and the running back's going
Yep.
by them, and then they're also missing tackles.
Right.
And I know you brought
Yep.
in Taylor Rapp from
Yep.
us, among like six other Rams that were on that
Mm-hmm.
Super Bowl team, but I know you brought him in, and
Yep.
I felt like it was a good move for them just to give those guys some time off the field maybe. But I was never high on Taylor Rapp. I
Yep.
don't know what your thoughts on him are after seeing him through this first part of the season. I think he's a guy who misses a lot of tackles. He could be physical, but we actually brought Eric Weddle out of retirement when we had an injury, so we could play him over Taylor Rapp on that Super Bowl team. So, I mean, my thoughts are what they are on him. But going back to the offense, I feel like, yeah,
Mm-hmm.
there's never any, like, people can talk about like not having a good running back, right? Or not having a good offensive line. Like those are things that go into people failing to establish a run game. But I feel like there's no plan. And on top of that, there's no scheme. There's no run scheme. There's no creativity with like the linemen pulling or making it easier. Like we see it
Mm-hmm.
with Miami. What makes them so good is that run scheme. And then obviously you have that vertical threat and that speed. And then San Francisco, like what Shanahan could do. Like you see it all around the league, like these disciples of Kyle Shanahan and what they're able to do for their team to set up that run
Mm-hmm.
scheme. And you don't have to have the best backs or the best O linemen, but if you can get that creativity and that the proper design, like I think that's something that they've failed to establish, obviously with Ken Dorsey, and that has to do with that
Yep.
and like the timing of the runs. The timing of the runs haven't been there for them.
Yeah. I mean, even last week, I think end of halftime, or maybe it was the end of the third quarter, start of the fourth. Like he had 6 carries. James Cook had 6 carries. And then they started bringing in Latavius Murray for pass blocking, and it was like, and I don't think that's the only thing, but it's also, I think it's not great pass blocking, and the plays that they're giving Cook, like they break down so fast that it's like it just looks bad on him. You know what I'm saying? I don't think it's so much that he's not a good running back. I think they're not putting him in a good situation to be successful. And I think like Latavius Murray, when he comes in, he just gets that draw play where he'll bust a couple big draw plays off. He's built for that. He's built to run people over, and he's a downhill runner. Like I don't think, from what I know and from what I've seen, James Cook is not that guy. He's more like a make you miss type guy, and that's the type of guy that the Bills like fall in love with in the draft and go get, like C.J. Spiller. Like that just seems like, I mean, LaShawn McCoy was the exception because he could kind of do both, and he made it work. But like you wasted whatever, we wasted that draft pick on C.J. Spiller in 2009. That dude never panned out. He always got hurt, and he was splitting carries with Fred Jackson, and the more successful back was Fred Jackson. And now we're kind of doing the same thing with Murray and Cook, and who knows, probably soon to be Fournette. Like, but they're not putting them in good positions. Like they're not putting him in a good position. And even with Murray will have a great couple runs, and then they take him out and they don't do that again. Like it's the play calling is not good. Um, and I'm not saying Josh doesn't make terrible decisions, because he definitely does. Even that last game, he threw a terrible ball that got intercepted right off the rip, and I'm just like, dude, what the fuck are you doing, man? Like, um, but I definitely think something's going on there. I mean, Latavius Murray, who's this is his first year on the team. He's what are they, 9 games into the season? Latavius Murray called a players only meeting this past week. Like, that's not even a guy that's very invested in the team as far as like, I've been here, I've been struggling with these guys. Like, that guy is, for that guy to be calling a players only meeting, like something's going on. Like that, where the players aren't happy. So, and I mean, if they lose this week, which with the guys that are out now, I I can't imagine like what who do you point the fingers at? Like everybody wants to cover for everybody. McDermott's like, oh, Dorsey's not going anywhere. Allen's like, oh, I love Dorsey. Like, these guys are like, just say what's going on. Like, if you're not happy with the play calls, then say that. Like, just something's up, and it's just a Diggs needs to say it, dude. But if Diggs says anything, the media portrays him as the worst person in the world, and I don't know. I have I have a customer that comes from Buffalo. He drives a train. He comes from Buffalo like every 2 weeks, and he also puts in. He's like one of the guys that builds tennis courts and basketball courts for the NFL players in their backyards. So he built Diggs's basketball court in his backyard, and he was doing Allen's tennis court in his backyard. So this is, I don't know how true this is. So this is from his mouth. He was like, okay, so he was like, this was right before the Cincinnati playoff game. He was like, so we were putting in the tennis court in Allen's backyard. It was like must have been the day after. I forget what he said now, but so he was putting in the tennis courts in Allen's house, and like they took pictures with him and everything. And I guess at the time, um, the girl that Allen was with prior to the whoever the chick he is with now. Um, it must have been like his high school girlfriend or whatever. Like, but like they were taking pictures with Allen, and Allen's girlfriend had like a big black eye, and like she had a hat on, like kind of trying to hide it. And the dude has these pictures on his phone. He was like, yeah, man. So I guess, but the night he goes, I guess the night before the Cincinnati game, there was cops at Allen's house, and his girlfriend was going crazy. So this is the night before the Cincinnati game. Um, and there's all types of rumors that go around Buffalo, to where apparently Josh Allen, like, he gets around. So there's a bar in Buffalo.
You're trashing your
You go to
quarterback
you
right
you've
now.
been to Buffalo, right? Dude, I'm not no. I'm not trashing him by any means. I'm just saying this is
He's a
according
dog.
to a guy that works for him. Um, No, so yeah, well, I mean, being a dog, he's one of us. He's one of us. Um, so apparently Josh Allen had hooked up with a girl that works on at a bar on Chippewa, and the rumor is that he got her pregnant. Um, so so I don't know what the cops, apparently there was a ton of cops at his house the night before the Cincinnati game. Um, and apparently like his girlfriend was just going crazy in the house, just wrecking shit, throwing shit everywhere. Like, there's no accusation of Allen like laying hands on her. So where the black eye came from, no idea. There's never been any allegations of like him being abusive or hitting her or anything like that, because
Oh,
dude, in today's day and age, if he did that, especially if he was cheating on her, like that, if any of this is accurate,
I'm sure it
she
was
would have
another
outed him in no
female
time, dude.
who,
um
yeah.
so maybe, um, or her going crazy, doing whatever she was doing in the house. Who knows? I have no idea. So, but anyway, so like the digs on the sideline during the Cincinnati game when they're getting blown out, when he was flipping out, talking shit to Josh. Apparently, it was about that. So that's just according to that dude. He was like, yeah, that. So him flipping out where he was all pissed off. Um, that's just a he said, she said thing that may or may not be true for whatever it's worth. But obviously, that all was built up all off season, and then going into the season, Diggs is a distraction, Diggs is a cancer. And like after I heard that, I was like, damn. I was like, maybe like I didn't really think he's like a cancer anyway, because the dude, he's a great ball player. I mean, as far as like wanting the ball, whatever, dude. Get like give him the ball. We didn't have anybody else. That's who they were getting the ball to at the time anyway. But yeah, man.
Wow.
So
That
just a fun
was
little
yeah, that
story that I
was
had heard.
that was very interesting. And I
It
mean, the
could
next day,
make
that
sense.
playoff game did not look good for him. And I mean, who's gonna get focused, after
That's what I'm
something like
saying.
that?
And they were
That is crazy. Um,
right. Well, the way Allen came out and played too. I mean, it would make sense. And Allen being or Diggs being pissed at Allen because he said something along the lines of, well, I forget what he said, but then the beginning of the season, he had that new fucking movie actress girlfriend. Um, but he had came into the season saying like end quote like I've never been more focused on football. So it little
yeah.
things that like kind of
Um,
add up.
to your point, like the dig shit on the sideline, I feel like he's the only one where people are constantly making a big deal about it, Like you said, like we've seen that from multiple players over
Hmm.
the years watching football, and I feel like it's only with Diggs when everybody's got an issue. Um, I don't think it's good. I don't think it's good that
Yep.
he's doing that, but the fact that everybody's killing him constantly
Yeah.
for it, like I love that passion. Don't get me wrong. I don't want to
Right.
get it. I don't want it to get twisted. Like I love that passion from your
That's what I'm
guy.
saying.
Like he wants to win, and that I can
Yep.
respect. But the way he does it
Hmm.
sometimes, that we can argue on that. But shout out to Fred Jackson when you were going off talking about that. What a great player for
Freddie
so
J.
long in Buffalo. So underrated in the NFL.
Yeah.
Wild. I mean,
Division three
and talking
football.
about CJ Spiller, I looked it up. He was
Yep.
drafted ninth overall in 2010. So yeah,
Ninth overall.
pretty
2010. Okay.
crazy. I do want to talk about their passing game. I want to talk
Yep.
about the emergence of Kincaid. He looks like a great pick for them. Um, the
Hmm.
way they started featuring him,
Yep.
I know Tyler's had thoughts on the past about Kincaid, and it's like, why is it taking so long to see that? Why did it have to take for Dawson Knox to be out? Is Tyler's point? Why did it have to take that long to feature this guy that we drafted in the first round? We see how gifted he is. We see how talented he is. Why are we not featuring him in the offense? And now we're starting to see that now
Hmm.
that Knox is out. But let's continue to do that when Knox is back. Like you have two quality tight ends and they're different
Yep.
too. So, right, you could put Kincaid in the slot. And talking
Yep.
about the receivers, it's like we
Yep.
know what you can do with Diggs, where he can get 10 catches and 100 yards, like walking to the stadium. Like he's built for that every
Hmm.
week. We know you can do that, and his chemistry with Josh, that's great, right? But where is Gabe Davis? He's so inconsistent. Like he'll go for 9 catches and then the next week he'll have 0 catches. That's something I'm concerned with the Bills is having that second receiver step up. I think when we talk about the Bills a few years back and you're talking about how you thought that was their best team, and I think a big part of that was the factor of having that slot guy, that Cole Beasley. And then even when they have Sanders, even when they
Cole
had Sanders,
Beasley.
I
I think.
think having guys like that made Josh's job so easier, and it made they were a
Hmm.
dangerous, dangerous offense when they had that working on the outside, and then we have it working in the slot. And that's something I think
Yep.
they're lacking. I think they like Shakir, but I think they're not willing to like
Yep.
consistently give him the opportunities to make a difference in a game. I think if you get him going, you got Deontay Hardy who's got some speed. Like let's start seeing it. Let's start seeing these other guys step up. Let's see Gabe Dave.
Hmm.
I don't know. I mean, are you giving up on Gabe Davis? I want to hear about that. But what are your thoughts about them as a passing game with the emergence of Kincaid and then talking about the other receivers?
I like the receivers right now. I think this year for sure is obviously better than last year. I mean, like last game, I don't know. I think it's the play. I don't know if the plays are just not good for Gabe or what. I mean, they looked his way twice. That was it. They targeted him 2 times. One was they called that intentional grounding that was down the left sideline. That was it looked like it was either a
Yep.
miscommunication or like an option route. Davis did like a 10-yard dig route, and it was like he should have kept going. It looked like Josh thought, but either way they called it an intentional grounding, and then whatever, that drive stalled out. Just a terrible, in my opinion, terrible play or
We
terrible
covered that.
call by the refs.
We
But
covered that. We went
um,
in on the refs. I think it was 2 episodes ago where we talked about that call right away. First thing we brought
dude,
up is it's clearly an option route. So let's just have some common sense.
yeah,
Common sense officials.
sure. Yeah, I don't know, man. This whole year, I just feel like the refs are on something, man. Like there's not just the Bills games, but like to go back to that game, the what was it, a roughing quarterback call that was pretty, pretty. I don't know, man. Just seems like shouldn't have been called, but I mean, can't make those plays, I guess. I don't know. But there's plenty of games where the refs are doing. I don't know, scrolling through Instagram the other day, and I forget. I want to say maybe it was a Ravens game or something where yeah, it was the Ravens. So whoever they were playing, the Ravens were on defense. Whoever they were playing obviously must have been fourth and a yard or fourth and inches, and the ref literally just picks the ball up and moves it away from the line of scrimmage, and then you hear somebody on the headset who goes, "I've never seen that before in my life. That ref just picked that ball up and moved it back." Like I don't know. I like the what was it? The game you guys were playing where you got in field goal range and like covered the spread. It was like the beginning of the
Oh,
year.
against the
You remember
49ers,
that
I
game, the
believe.
Rams there? Yeah, maybe I don't know. It just feels like that. Yeah, well, that I just feel like I don't know if it's gambling has such an effect on sports right now that it's starting to creep in that way where the refs are like, I don't know. I mean, obviously these guys, if you're an NFL referee, you like football, so you have a favorite team, so you're gonna kind of favor one way or the other. Like that's human nature. If I'm a referee and I'm fucking a Bills fan, dude, I'm throw a couple extra flags here and there, but um, I don't know, man. It's like I feel like it's very obvious now. Like if a you just feel like the world is against you sometimes, and I mean, being a Bills fan, like it definitely it's felt like that for a long time, but now it's like actually matters because they're actually good. Um, yeah, I don't know. But as far as Gabe Davis. I like Gabe Davis a lot. I just don't. I don't know. I just don't think they same thing. Like he's like the deep guy, but he's not fast. Like he's not gonna beat you deep most times because he's fast. He's gonna beat you deep because he can go up over you and go get it. But like the Bills don't really even give him those shots. Like they'll hit him across the middle like a couple of slant routes and stuff, or occasionally they'll hit him with a deep ball, but they don't really. Same thing. Another guy that he is our big guy as far as a receiver, like besides Kincaid now, and like they just don't really feel like two targets. Like what are you gonna do with two targets? Even if you got those two, like that's you know what I'm saying. Like I think it just comes back to the play calling again. I mean, he's proven time and again like that he's a good receiver. Maybe he's not a true number two receiver, but like, what I mean, what the Kansas City game, dude had 3 touchdowns. Like, plenty of times where he's played like a number one receiver at times. So like he can do it. Um, yeah, occasionally he'll drop a ball every now and then, but um, besides him, like I like what they're doing with Shakir. I wish they would get him more involved. What the past 2 games I think is the best that Allen has spread the ball around since Knox has been out. I mean he had anywhere between 6 and 9 targets to every other receiver other than Diggs, and like that's big. Like if they could do that week in and week out, but you can't do that when you're targeting your number two receiver 2 times in a game and then not going back to him. Like how are you spreading the ball around? It's just I don't know, man. I think it all comes back to play calling to me.
All right, Sean. Capping this off again, we
But
appreciate you coming on talking Bills. This has been awesome. This has been really fun.
yep.
I just want to finish with so right now you're at 5-4. The whole division lost last week. Miami lost, so that was big for
Hmm.
you. I mean, the Patriots obviously are what they are, and I'm sure you're happy about seeing that after what they've done for the last 20 years. Seeing them down has to put a smile on your face. Yeah.
Love it.
And the
It's the
Jets,
best.
I mean, they got a phenomenal defense. They're gonna be a tough game, with that defense. But Are we really worried with them? Worried about them with the way that offense has looked? I don't really think you have to be too concerned with them, other than when you play them, and Josh has to play against that defense again. But
Hmm.
talking about you and the Dolphins right now,
Yep.
how are you feeling confidence wise, comparing yourself to them? And then if you want to talk about the Jets, go ahead, because who knows? Maybe there's a miracle and Rodgers plays, in a few weeks here. So who knows with them? But what are your expectations going forward for the rest of this year?
I don't know, man. It's rough. Honestly, if I'm being real, like it ain't good. Um, the Jets, man, like I on paper, like with the exception of the quarterback situation, maybe their offensive line, because their offensive line looks bad too. Um, Offensive line and quarterback, but that game that we played against them, prior to that happening, when it happened, like I I felt worse when Rodgers got hurt because I was like, oh great, now Zach Wilson's going to come in and he's going to throw check down passes. The Bills can't stop check down passes. If you watch any game the Bills play, any game they lose, they get killed by screen passes. Every single game, they can't stop them. I don't know why. I don't know what McDermott's doing. He's calling these defenses, but I mean, obviously we're pretty hurt. But it's not just this year; it's every year, year in and out. They can't stop screen passes. So when Rodgers went out, I was less confident. My confidence went down. I was like, well, I felt better about him being in the game because I was like, well, he's going to go deep with the ball. And that's like at that point in time, yeah, two of our safeties at the time before I realized that they were snails. I was like, okay, Rogers got to go against these two all pro safeties. He's got to go against Trey White. He's got to go against Teron Johnson, Christian Benford, Dane Jackson. He's got to go against all these guys. We're going to be good. Like, we'll be fine. And then Zach Wilson comes in and he just starts throwing dump down passes to Brees Hall for 80 yards. And I felt like that was going to happen as soon as Rodgers got hurt. I was like, oh, great. Now we're going to lose because they game planned for Rodgers. Like, they didn't game plan for this guy. Um, I think the Jets are scary, man. Like, what say what you want about them, but like, I don't like playing them. I mean, they always have a good defense. Like, it doesn't matter who comes in and who their coach is. Like, they always have a good defense. Um, their offense sucks, but that wasn't the Bills. I guess that wasn't enough for the Bills to be able to take advantage of them still because they still lost. The Miami game, I mean, obviously we made light work of Miami. Could have been a fluke. Maybe we had their number this year. Um, I honestly, right now, would feel more comfortable playing Miami than I would the Jets with the way they're playing. Um, but both games are coin flips. Um, Same thing with the Patriots. For whatever reason, the Patriots were able to
Crazy.
beat the Bills too. So it's tough, man. The division is just crazy right now, and it's not like good crazy. Um, Unless barring something pretty crazy, man, I don't know. I could see the Bills not
Really?
even making the playoffs this year, honestly, as shitty as that is. Yeah, I mean, even if they made the playoffs right now, what, they're going to go in and get bounced by Cincinnati or Kansas City first round again? Like, I wouldn't feel good about going to the playoffs. Like at this point, they're not a scary team right now. Like I I can imagine any of these teams being like licking their chops at the thought of playing the Bills in the first round. Like that's basically a bye week first round right now.
Right.
The way they're playing, dude, it's not good. Like I don't know. I don't feel good about them currently. Um, like you said, it's week 9. Um, who knows with the players only meeting they had? Hopefully somebody lit a fire under these guys and they're fucking coming out pissed off, ready to play football. But this doesn't look like a team that this doesn't really look like a team that is like a Super Bowl team at all by any means. But I mean, I guess worse teams have there's been worse teams that have done it and come back from these situations. So we'll see. I mean, I would love to I would love for them to defy the odds and come out at a point in the season where they're not the Super Bowl favorites right now and come out and run the table or whatever. But right now, I don't see it. Shit, I'll be happy if they put up 21 points this week.
Well, Sean, we hope that turns around for you.
I
We
don't.
hope you feel a lot better in a couple weeks.
Yeah.
Um, I hope to have you on again,
Yeah.
later on in the year if they are playing better and we could have some more positivity from you. But once again, it was great talking to you, great seeing you
Yeah.
again. I know it's been a minute. We loved having you. This was fun. So, Sean, thanks
Yep.
again. Have a great weekend. Good luck on Monday night.
Absolutely.
All right,
Good
buddy.
talking to you boys. Go Bills.